Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of 92 and Pike, our weekly show where we talk about the humans behind the technology. My name is Chloe Condon, and I am joined, as always, with my co-host, Brandon Minnick. Hello, Brandon.
Hi, Chloe. So good to see you again.
Good
Always
to
a
see
pleasure.
you too. Oh my gosh, it's Thursday. I know that because we are on this call right now.
That's right.
How has your week been since last we spoke, since last Thursday?
Yeah, it's been good. Very, very busy week. Been giving a couple conference talks, been giving a couple meetup talks. It's something that's been really, really nice. And honestly, it's something that we should not forget to be appreciative is that being in tech, we can still continue working on our products. We can continue joining fellow developers and meetups and conferences. And the shift online has, there's been a couple speed bumps, but not too bad. And just so thankful for that because we still get to hang out with all the amazing people in the community and chat with them about also what they're working on and see what all the different teams at Microsoft are working on and get to share that with everybody. And while well, for me, definitely more fun to be there in person, it's still great to stay connected and chat with everybody so much.
Absolutely. I actually feel that I've been able to connect with more people because of this. Because typically, if I speak in a particular region, only the people in that room get to hear it. So today, actually, I'm speaking at Codeland Conf, which, if you're not familiar, is usually a conference that happens in New York. And Dev2 and Code Newbies are putting it on. And what's been really interesting is usually just a small set of people in New York could attend this conference, but now Code Newbies all over the world are able to come and join the party. So I'm very excited to connect with all sorts of new people around the globe later today,
Yeah, I
whatever
love it.
time zone that may be for them.
Yeah, and I really love that. Also, everything's being recorded too. So being able to share
Yes.
that content later. And yeah, like you said, it doesn't limit it to just folks who are nearby. And hopefully we continue doing that even if and when conferences and meetups go back to being in person, now that we have this infrastructure built up,
Yeah.
and we can continue doing that because, yeah, like I spoke at a conference in Buenos Aires last week, gave a webinar. I spoke at a meetup in Toronto earlier this week, and yeah, I'm virtually traveling around the globe.
So now you just need to talk with some cloud advocates on our team about building some VR so you can actually sit in the airport and get the full experience of
Sit in
traveling
the
to a
airport.
conference. Because your handle is the Code Traveler, so you could virtually travel around, perhaps.
That's
So we'll
right.
talk
Now
to
now you
Icicle
can
about that.
now you can be on the couch and get all the same stress from flight delays.
Exactly.
Like,
Well,
you're late to your gate. Run.
yeah, it's a treadmill game where you can catch up, just like the real thing, connecting flights. Well, this is actually a great segue because we are chatting today with someone who is across on the East Coast. We're over here on the West Coast. So, everyone, I would love to welcome Jen Looper to the show. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, everybody. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Jen.
Do I have to shout to be heard in California? Is this still on? Can you hear me?
Get your megaphone out so we can hear you.
That's
And you're joining us from Boston today, is that correct?
right. Beautiful day in Beantown. I live outside of Boston, so it's, those leafy green western suburban suburbs where people just walk around without masks like nothing happened. It's nice.
Yeah, well, and tell us a little bit for the folks at home who don't know who you are. We, of course, do, but what do you work on here at Microsoft?
Yeah, so I'm a cloud advocate lead. So I'm on the academic team. And the academic team is a very, very fun and cool team because we get to deal with all the code newbies, right? And Chloe
Yes.
is on this team as well. So we deal with creating curriculum and content and experiences for educators, for students, for people who are looking to skill up, for people who are looking to change careers. It's a really, really cool and interesting place to be in, especially given where Microsoft is at this point in time where Satya talks about skilling and we're all like, yes, it's us. So
Yeah,
it's really fun.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's been so interesting, especially now that people have time in their home and they can learn a new skill to get started with programming. I know that a lot of actors and performers and dancers and all sorts of creative folks are starting to upskill through various, even the Learn Initiative through Microsoft. So it's exciting to see all these new folks that we're like, come to us, please. We'll
Yeah,
teach
it's
you.
wonderful. It's really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and also
Brandon, oh, go
I
ahead,
was gonna say
Brandon.
hearing their perspective.
Yes.
One of our fellow advocates, Jim Bennett, hosted an Ask Me Anything meeting where he brought in a couple of the interns on the team who are still finishing up their college work, but have been interning at Microsoft for the summer. And chatting with them just gives you that whole new perspective and something that I find so hard to keep a grasp on is remembering what learning to code was like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because once you've been away from that for 10, 5, 10, 15 years, there's so many things you don't you don't remember that you didn't remember. And so
Mhm.
certain words like a property or a method, or even little things like I'm just going to assume you know how to open Visual Studio or that you already have it installed.
Right.
Yeah.
And listening to some of our students on the intern team chatting about that, it's like yeah, he's like, my first time coding, I was doing it all in Microsoft Word because I didn't know that you could use an IDE. It's like, oh yeah, that's
Right.
right. Like
Yeah.
we need to take a step back a little bit, especially in our introductory documents or documentation on how to get started. Like,
Documentation is so important, especially for code newbies. As someone who had to use APIs early on in learning there's so much assumed knowledge that we just
Mhm.
take for granted in this industry. So always write your documentation as if an alien is about to read it and has never looked at a computer before, truthfully.
so
And
so true.
that's exactly what they were saying. They were talking about how they're they're in a CS program or they're in an engineering program, but it's highly theoretical. So
Mhm.
they're approaching, something like web technologies, and someone mentions an API, and it's like, oops, what? And so,
What's an API? Right.
yeah, but it was
Yeah.
hilarious. And I was talking to a woman who had just graduated from a pretty darn prestigious school in CS, and she was sad because she didn't know how to make a website. And I was sad for her. She could code circles around me with algorithms, of course, because that's what they learn, which is awesome. But I'm like, oh, but the candy, the fun stuff is when you make the mobile apps, right, Brendan? And
That's right.
Or
and the
even just
website.
learning Git for that matter. I think we take for granted, working on teams, for example, or I mean, it always makes me very excited. And especially now that we see a lot of non-traditional background folks come into tech and they start applying maybe a different part of their brain or past or career. Like I may have mentioned it on the show before, but Catherine Meyer's talk on Mozart would have been a great programmer of applying like patterns in music to like how to structure your code. So it's I think we assume a lot of basic knowledge, and I love working with students and academic folks because it helps me retrain my brain of not assuming those basic things that maybe a student hasn't even committed to a project before on GitHub, or what is a gist.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the cool thing is, I mean, not to plug Microsoft, but plugging Microsoft, we have a lot of really nice tools
Yes.
that help
Yeah.
code newbies, like Visual Studio Code, which is just a really terrific place to start, honestly.
Mhm.
Speaking of Microsoft, you are working on a very awesome thing, Maya Mystery. Tell us about Maya Mystery. This is such a cool project.
Yeah, it's one of so on the academic team, we have split the academic team right down the middle, and my wonderful colleague Francesca basically takes the grown-ups and I take the kids. So on my half of the team, we handle, the new folks coming into the industry, and we have a little pocket of us who deal with what we call magical experiences. So we have a subset, we do magic as a service,
Ooh.
MAAS. So
Insert sparkles here.
totally. Yeah, and we created an experience last October called the Azure Mystery Mansion. Mystery Mansion. You can't say it,
Spooky.
a Mystery Mansion. It's Mystery Mansion. And M. Laser Walker was the lead developer with that, and she's a fabulous game developer. So it was just a wild pleasure to learn about how to build a text-based game, vintage style, using Twine, a tool called Twine. So you're writing, the experience as you go from room to room, and you pick up keys. And the ulterior motive behind this was that we're helping students solve puzzles and clues by popping them in and out of Microsoft Learn. So we would give them URLs. You open a mysterious drawer and you clear away the cobwebs, and there's a URL. Or the typewriter starts going like this, and a URL pops up and you have to click on it. And then you go into Learn and you find the clue and you come back. So it's a lot of in and out to Learn. And this was a monster hit. So marketing came back to us and said, we want to do another one.
No
and I was
way.
thinking, great. But now what?
It's like a virtual scavenger hunt almost.
Yeah, it is exactly that. And we were thinking, do we do Mystery Mansion V2? It was kind of very Halloween oriented. So like, well, do we do like that outbuildings and then like the mysterious outhouse? I just
I'm picturing like a whole Nancy Drew series starring
Right. But we decided to change it up a little bit, and we created a different experience, the same sort of text-based game, popping people in and out of Learn to get clues, but also doing a little bit more code. Drawing on another magical experience which we created called the 25 Days of Serverless, which is basically giving code challenges so that you can solve puzzles by shipping code. And so this has gotten kind of big. We're doing a 3-part mystery experience based on the Mayan culture, because the regional PMs wanted something for the Americas. So I'm like, I know, let's do something with the Mayans, because turns out my brother is one of the preeminent Mayanists in the country, and he helped me kind of figure out what it would feel like, and I felt comfortable because I knew if I was working with him and his artist, we would not screw it up, right? Because this is the worst idea, is to do a cultural thing and screw it up, which I did not want to do.
Yes.
So we were very, very careful to make it appropriate and respectful, and drawing on deep culture within the ancient Mayan culture, looking at deciphering glyphs, figuring out little bits and pieces about the culture, and then popping in and out of Learn to get clues to solve puzzles. So the first part of the mystery has shipped, and you are walking around the pyramid and looking for the entrance. So you're picking up glyphs here and in there, and you have to solve the order that you have to press on the glyphs, which become a button so that you can get into the door. You press the right combination, and then you get into the pyramid. At which point there's a couple more puzzles, and then the floor suddenly shifts, and you slide down, and then wait for part 2. So it's very, very nice.
I love it.
Amazing.
It is a mystery. It reminds me a lot. I love anything gamified. And I used to have a computer game on CD-ROM that I got from a book fair, Scholastic Book Fair. None of the students are going to know what a book fair is, probably.
I know.
But book fair rules, Scholastic Book Fair. And it was called Museum Madness. And I had to solve all of these museum mysteries to like get through different pieces of the museum. I'm so excited to play my mystery. This is going to be so fun.
Yeah.
V2
where
is
can we find it?
soon. Yeah, V2
coming
is
soon. Okay.
Yeah. So
the
first, so just go to aka.ms/Azure Maya Mystery, and you can get through the first part until the floor shifts.
Dun dun dun! Mysterious music. Oh my gosh.
And you get to learn about a mysterious text message that you get, and you have to ship some code to get that clue to solve some more puzzles. And so the second part, I'll give you a little spoiler alert. I hope you know how to swim.
Yes. It's an exclusive right here on 92 and Pike.
That's right.
Brandon can swim. Brandon was going to swim from Alcatraz to the shore.
That's right.
Really? Wow. Ooh.
Yeah. There's a couple yearly swims out here in San Francisco that you take a ferry out to Alcatraz and then swim back. And I signed up for it 2 years ago, but the conditions were too rough. So the Coast Guard actually didn't let us out there that day. And then I signed up to do it again in 2020, but COVID-19 had different plans. And so maybe next year.
I was going to cheer from the shore. I don't think I could swim that far, or from Alcatraz for that matter.
Far,
in that
actually.
cold water.
Yeah, chilly and cold.
Yeah, some people do it with no wetsuit. There's a whole division in the race where you can race against other people with no wetsuits. I'm like, nah, y'all are crazy.
Jen, that's a good idea for the third one, Escape from Alcatraz Mystery. Talk to
Ooh,
me about it. We'll get
yeah,
you the SF history. I took a class in college called History of SF, so I could be of use.
cool.
Oh, I mean, the sky's the limit because we built a new engine to host these mysteries. We built it with
Ooh.
ViewPress. That's all open source. You can look at the code base, although that'll give you some spoilers. and and it's like a combination of View components that are slotted into ViewPress so that we could create little forms so that you can actually put in, you can input the clues, via using a form field. So with Twine, there's a little bit more restrictive. So we rebuilt this text engine. Chris Noring gave us the kernel of it, and then we kind of productized it. So
I love
we're
that you open
Amazing.
source it so other people can
yeah.
make their own mysteries.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, and we had a play tester, a 10-year-old play tester,
The best kind of play
the best
tester.
kind of play tester, yes, Tommy, who was in London, and his dad called us and said, we liked the Mystery Mansion. What you got for us? So we showed him. I had to please play test this thing. He said, thought it was too easy. So because of Tommy, I added 2
Ooh,
very tricky puzzles.
Wow.
And we built a template for him to just pick up and build his own mystery. So if you go to my GitHub, you can find, I think it's called Space Explorer. I made just like a generic space kind of, you're flying through space and all of a sudden the red button starts beeping. What do you do?
Oh my gosh. I think we have a Math Blasters 2 competitor on our hands here.
Yes. Captain Keyboard.
Well, so exciting. And speaking of a throwback like Math Blasters, that is a great segue into our next segment, which we like to call 8 Bits. Hit the theme. I was just over here doing a little dance because I know you like hearing music back home. So if you've never tuned into 8 Bits before, this is our segment where we ask our lovely guests 7 of the same questions, very inside the actor studio-esque over here, but they are tech related. And then we have an 8th bonus question. So we'll go ahead and get started and we'll get to know the person behind the technology today, which is Jen Looper. So Jen, tell us, what is your earliest memory of tech?
Right. Well, so I grew up in the 70s. I'm ridiculously old. So, but we did have a television until I decided to kick it because I didn't like what was on the television. I busted the picture tube, so no more television for Jen's family.
Do you
So
remember what that show was?
I don't, but to this day, there are some parts of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when the snowman comes in that I still can't watch because I was so traumatized by that darn show. But maybe it was that. So just go kick it because what could go wrong? But in terms of computers, I was in a program, one of these programs where they have kids just trying out new stuff, and they gave us, I think it was either a Commodore 64 or a TRS-80. I think it was a TRS-80, one of these real clunky things. Yeah. And we were supposed to be learning how to program BASIC on it using these text-based games. The text-based game I remember was called Raha 2. And it's another kind of wandering through a jungle, Indiana Jones style. I think it's like you whack your way through the underbrush and Jaguar jumps on you and you die. So like kind of stuff,
And there's sort of like options like A, B, C, D, kind of choose your own adventure sort of?
Yeah, it was choose your own adventure. And I think with BASIC, you're doing go to and then right, left. It's very, very basic. So it was all, in console and that kind of stuff. So no, I don't think there was a GUI, nothing.
I recently played Oregon Trail, like the old original Oregon Trail for the first time. And I realized now that I, have been a programmer for a couple of years, this is just basically a text-based game with some visuals. So, and I feel like a lot of the fun early projects, especially when I was first, learning JavaScript and Python, I just built a lot of text-based games in, the terminal. So that's so cool. I need to get my hands on, I want to play with some of those old Commodores, and even though they're big and clunky, they're kind of fun to play with.
I think there are some websites where people have republished those old text-based games like Oregon Trail or the ones before. I know Raha 2 is online and you can hack your way through it. I have to dig up the link somewhere, but it's boy,
I need to
nostalgia.
poke our mutual friend Stacy Divino because I'm sure that she has a lot of cool retro hardware that I could play with.
Yes.
Have you ever played with an older device like that, Brandon? Like, did you grow up with those as well?
The probably oldest game console I played with was the old school Atari. So like the very first one with the joysticks, and it had it was a wooden console too, or at least had like wood paneling on it.
Good.
Wow.
That seems
Right?
safe.
Or am I just making that up?
It was made of stone.
I think it was more of like an accent piece, but
Cool. Well, our next question here is, what is the last piece of tech or hardware that you bought?
Right. So the last piece I think I bought was my Apple Pencil, which I had bought a V2 and then I had to return it because mine doesn't go with my iPad. I had to get the V1. So, but that's a brilliant piece of technology specifically for iPad and specifically for Procreate, which is just a wonderful app that's worth every bit of its $10. And it'll turn you into an artist, even if you didn't realize you were one. So I just love it.
And you do sketchnoting, correct?
I'm not that great at it. It's all about practice, I guess, but I really do enjoy sketching and drawing. And I'm a visual learner, so taking notes and kind of sketching around that, I think it helps. It helps me. I hope it helps other people. But I like to, when I'm going to a conference, I'll sketch note your talk and make a little silly portrait of you and give it as a gift because it's kind of fun.
Oh, fun.
I love those.
Yes.
I've never been able to do it because, well, maybe I should try it because I don't consider myself a great artist, but I am always in awe when anybody does one. And it's such a great way to capture the snapshot of, say, a conference presentation or meeting notes, and you can kind of see everything visually, and it's just beautiful. So I'm always in awe of people that are able to do that.
Everything I learned from Denise Yu. She created this, she has a course on how to sketchnote, but she also released her slides, which are just brilliant. So everything if you want to just learn, and it's a very specific style. So there's like, I do the kind of real cutesy style with cute animals and bunnies. So some people do a completely different style of sketchnoting. Like Nitya's are much more text heavy. Mine just have like rabbits hopping all over it because I just get distracted.
One of my favorite speaker gifts ever, and it was a total surprise to me, was at DevOps Day Dallas. As we were giving our talks, there was someone on the side of the stage with a large piece of butcher paper sketching out our talk as we gave it. So you could either watch, if you're more of a visual learner, you could kind of choose who you were looking at. And I guess my talk was about shifting to the left with testing. And I must have just quoted Beyonce, like to the left. And I think she drew me like singing To the Left by Beyonce on the thing. And I have this huge scroll. I have a picture of me laying next to it, like next to my art, but it was such I'm a visual learner myself. So anytime that I see a sketch note, or maybe I wasn't able to catch a talk and someone on Twitter posts one, I'm like, oh, this is such a cool way to learn.
It is. It's so fun. It's a good
and
thing
I'm also a huge fan of some of your more artsy visual projects, like your CSS terrarium that you did for Build.
Yeah. So, we were working the student zone in Build. Microsoft Build was a big, huge conference, and the student zone was like, it was just party.
It's where all the fun happened.
It was where I was not going to say that, but let's just say fun happens because we were popping. It was Minecraft and IoT.
NASA, robots.
NASA was there. Yeah, crazy Aunt Lindsay was there.
We had Microsoft the musical. All the interns from that came and talked to us.
Incredible.
Always come to the student zone.
Always go to the student zone. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody's learning. So I had 800 people listening to me we were all coding together. It was fabulous. We just, forked a repo and just started coding. So first you create a terrarium in CSS and you put the dirt down, and then you have your little items laid out, your little succulents laid out on the side, and then you make, add a mouse on mouse over click handler so that you can drag and drop them into your terrarium. And it's a beautiful experience, and everybody was happy.
I'm really excited to go and do that one because I'm a very crafty person, and I've found that CSS and front end in general very much feels like virtual digital crafting. And I love real life terrariums, if you couldn't tell from all the succulents I have over here. Cool. All right. Next question we have is, what technology do you love?
What technology do I love? I love, like I said, Procreate. What other technologies? VS Code has been very helpful recently.
Amen. I love all the plugins with VS Code, like that
Yeah,
help
it's
me do stuff,
kind of
save
your
me
one,
time.
yeah, your one-stop shop, honestly. And GitHub is getting really, really great. There's a lot of new little things in GitHub that you can do. Oh, actually, a great technology is the GitHub mobile app. Shockingly, it's
Ooh,
shockingly good. Brandon, have you tried this one with the iOS app?
I do. I have it.
It's so good.
I've made a mobile app myself that
yes, the unofficial app
leverages
of the
GitHub.
show.
That's right. Okay, there's a connection. That's right.
We
Yeah,
always sneak in a plug on this show for Brandon's app.
that's right. Okay.
Download it today.
Yes.
Gettrends.com. Ding.
Yeah, but if you're like, in the car and you pull over and you have to ship some code, you can actually do it. You can review PRs from your iPhone. It's shocking.
Yeah.
It's
Great
really,
concept.
really cool. Yeah. And I mean, there's some things that I'm looking forward to them adding, like when you release or make a release on
Mhm.
GitHub. Right now, if you click on a release in the mobile app, it'll redirect you to the website to see the release notes and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I really appreciate that, especially for doing code reviews, like what you're saying
Yes.
with PRs, or if somebody opens an issue on one of my GitHub repos, now I get a push notification about it. I don't have to
Mhm.
go back and manually check. Like I used to just kind of stumble upon them in the past, like, oh, this has been open for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I never heard about it. Guess I'll
Yeah.
respond. But yeah, now it's a push notification. I don't really have that excuse anymore.
Instead
Which
of TikTok,
is a good thing.
Brandon's just on GitHub, like, or Instagram, scrolling through all of his pull requests.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is, we just covered what technology do you love. What technology do you hate? We've had a wide range of answers to this one, from scooters to everything you can think of.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I am not in love with the GPS in my Prius. It's a relatively new model Prius. And I'm sorry, but Garmin, can we talk? Can we talk about the GUI?
Reach out to Jen for a case study.
Oh my goodness, it's just not easy. You have to search you have to start by drilling into the app to get the address that you want to go to. So you have to say, I want to go to Boston. Well, I want to go to State Street. Well, I want to go to number 4.
I want to be on the planet Earth and in the United States of America.
Like, more specific.
Oh man. And then I was renting a car in Austin last time I was there, and it had Apple Car and everything was perfect. And it was just made me sad. And it's not available in my 2018 Prius.
GPS has saved my booty so many times, especially moving to a new city right after college. Back in the day, y'all, the BlackBerry capabilities of pinpointing, you had to put the cross streets that you were at. It wouldn't just say, you are here, now where do you want to go? And I don't think I would have survived moving to San Francisco without a mobile phone, but oh my goodness, having to type in the long address at a street corner that you don't know where you are, if it's safe to have your phone
Use
out.
the actual map.
Yeah, big map with string. And yeah, I've GPS. I sometimes in my own neighborhood, I can't even get around with GPS. So what a great invention in general.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just listening to a story. I think I was listening to a podcast the other day where somebody was sharing a story where when they were young, they were walking home from school and didn't realize they made a wrong turn and just were totally lost and turned around. And I had totally forgotten about that experience in general, because when that happens today, I'm like, oh, where am I? And I just kind of pull up the phone. It's like, oh, okay, I'm one street over. Let's go that way. But yeah, back in the day, I was trying to think, what would I do? I think I used to just retrace my steps. So like go back until things started looking familiar again, and then continuing on. And yeah, if you didn't have a map with you, and if you, I mean, obviously there was no GPS back in the day. It was very difficult. And yeah, that's when you would have to go, like, just ask somebody, like maybe pop into the corner store and be like, hey, I'm trying to get here. You've heard of this place?
Talking
these
to
cross
people?
streets?
No.
Until you don't know the language, So.
Yeah.
Ooh,
We're
Yes.
so lucky. I think we take it for granted sometimes because just yesterday I parked our car somewhere. And as I was walking away from the car, I thought, oh, I should write down where I parked. But then I realized that I could just look at my history later to see, where I had parked my car. And I was like, oh, it takes care of itself in the background. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's creepy or good or bad, but saved me some time.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
It's like at the cost of having more of our information on the internet, saves us some time, but also does my phone need to know where I am all the time? Probably not. Data, 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 data. So our next question is, what other profession would you want to attempt?
To attempt. So I used to be a teacher, and I was trained up to be a French teacher, which is all great until it's really hard to find a job with my specialty. But in terms of attempting a job, I wouldn't mind attempting, because I didn't try it, to get certified and teach high school.
Okay.
And I think that, I don't know, everyone tells me this is a dreadful idea. My kids are like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. The children are terrible." And I was like, I don't know. It's tricky, because with teaching a foreign language, it's tricky if the students are not super motivated, if they're not super interested in the topic. And in middle school and high school, they're kind of just getting through the requirements. Same thing a little bit in college, but there's a little bit more motivation. If there's a language requirement in your college, then they really just want to get it done and get going. But I think it would be a challenge to motivate students to want to learn a language, to enjoy learning it, and see how far you could push that. I don't know. I always love to learn languages, so I wonder how far one's innate enthusiasm and love for a thing can drag the classroom with you. So it'd be worth a try. I don't know.
Well, I would much rather learn French from you than Duolingo, because that owl can be very threatening in that app sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I used to teach grammar points by there's a pedagogy called total physical response, and it's all about getting past your fears and just physically getting involved in the language learning. So I had a little stuffed puppy dog, and we would do verb grammar, different grammar points. I would just toss you the dog, and if you caught it, you had to give me the right answer. So it's very much on the spur, on the spot, physically getting into learning the grammar point. So I don't know how terrifying that is, but Chloe's like, oh my god.
I was just thinking, you just duck out of the way.
Less scary than being in a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm face to face with someone and I need to communicate this. Like I would rather do it with a stuffed dog than have to do it in the moment.
His name is Bosco. He's pretty cute, but yeah, but the students are like.
Brandon, do you know any other languages?
So we'll say no. I took 2 languages in high school. I took Latin and Japanese. And what's ironic is I learned more about English through Latin than I did through my English classes, which don't tell anybody that. My mom's actually an English teacher, so she doesn't love it when I tell people that I learned it more through Latin. But I think the coolest thing for me is, that's really cool. Definitely help with my SAT scores. But with Japanese, they have 3 different alphabets. And one of them is called katakana. And it's only used, the intent of that alphabet is for foreign language words that have been introduced to Japanese. So words like hamburger, computer, in Japanese, they're pronounced pretty much the same, like kanputa and hamburger, but they still use a different alphabet to spell it out. And last time I was in Japan, if a menu or a sign was written in katakana, then I could just kind of sound it out. And you kind of use some context clues. So like I was in a coffee shop and was reading through the menu and was able to sound out like mocha and latte. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do this. And so it's kind of cheating because it's still the same word, but just written in a different alphabet. But that's probably the extent of my prowess in foreign languages.
Well, when I get further along in my Duolingo course, I'm going to have to hit up Jen, ask her some pointers on my French, because I've decided next time I go to France, when last time I was in France, I walked around with 2 baguettes in my pockets because when in France, uh, I want to be able to order a baguette using French. So that's my goal for next time I can travel. I think I've got some time. I could probably figure it out before then. All right. So our next question, yeah, picture me with just carbs in my pockets, is what profession would you not want to attempt, Jen?
Well, I have a dreadful fear of heights, so I wouldn't be like a professional skydiver or anything like that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, window washing on the tall building, no. But I thought at one point I wanted to become a doctor or go into healthcare, health services, and I just realized that I'm completely unfit. I'm just not cut out for this very honorable profession. In fact, I gave my Grey's Anatomy book to a gal who was going into the profession, and I'm like, here, you may have this, because neither I nor my children are doing this, so take it.
Is that basically the equivalent of cracking the coding interview, but for the medical industry?
I don't know. It's such a classic. It's got these beautifully detailed diagrams of all of the body parts. And
Today I learned I only knew it was a show. The
yeah,
name
but
of
yeah,
it.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
classic. Yeah, it's a classic. But yeah, I don't do late nights, and I don't like blood and gore. So not
Brandon
for
had the
that.
same answer. He's not a blood person, so he would not fare well in that profession.
My body passes out as soon as I see needles, blood, just
Needles, yeah.
not only would I be bad at it, I would be unconscious.
Unfortunately, I got to attempt one of the professions I would not want to pursue again, which is children's birthday party entertainer. You'd be
Ooh.
surprised how many weird bodily fluids you get on yourself doing that. So
Ooh, yeah.
you may have seen me, if you live in the Bay Area, I may have been a Minnie Mouse at your child's birthday.
Wow.
All righty. Well, let's see. Our next question here is, what technology do you wish existed from film or TV?
Anything having to do with travel. I think this is kind of like where a lot of DevRel people are at this point. Like, I don't want to get out of here. I'm sitting in my closet at this point.
It's a cute closet, though. I got to say, I don't have a neon light in my closet, so you're doing great.
Good. Yeah, it's if we had, just had the button to beam me up, or the Flu network that we could just hop in, and just like visit people. Material. What did Calvin and Hobbes? He had the transmogrifier. Well, that was to change you, but I think he had another kind of box that you could get into, and it would transport you somewhere. I'm all about that. We got to get out of here, man. I'm done.
I want the I Dream of Genie capabilities, where I can just go like this and go
I can't wiggle
somewhere.
my nose.
Yeah, the bewitched one. Yeah, I also really love just the idea of, even if I was just able, almost like in the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Mike TV, like digitally transfer the candy or the person into a different place. That would be great.
Because that's what's so tough during the current pandemic is travel. So you get on a plane, you're immediately surrounded by dozens, if not hundreds of people. And if any of them are sick, well, you're probably going to get sick too, or just going through the airport and being around all the people. And, there might be, your destination might be totally safe, this nice cabin in the woods where you can get away from it all. But yeah, to get there,
Yeah.
you got to get on a plane, or even if you're driving and maybe it's a couple days road trip, and yeah, every gas station you stop at along the way, it's all, more chances of spreading or contracting the virus. And yeah, it'd be beautiful if I could just jump in that box from Calvin and Hobbes, and all of a sudden I'm in the cabin in the woods. And like, great.
I'm starting to see a common theme with people answering this question on the show, because we get a lot of flying cars, beam me up, kind of traveling. I think this is an industry, for those of you watching out there thinking, what should my startup be? Consider traveling through the void of technology or black hole travel. We will give you funding.
Absolutely. You will get funding for sure.
Yeah, just from the DevRel industry alone, we're here for it. So our final bonus question, our ad hoc question here, I thought we'd get a little bit on the theme of Maya Mystery and Azure Mystery. And I want to ask you, Jen, what's one of your favorite mysteries? Are you a Nancy Drew person? Are you like a Murder on the Orient Express type of human? Do you have a favorite mystery?
Ah, well, this will make you laugh. I used to read the Bobbsey twins when I was a kid, which is really old. That
I've
stuff
heard
is
of
from,
this.
it's
It's like
from,
Hardy
it's
Boys-ish
before
era.
that stuff. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I actually really like kind of more physical mysteries. So I used to
Okay.
be big into geocaching. Like you can wander
Ooh.
around,
Oh,
find
cool.
little boxes. COVID, I'm telling you, no more boxes in the woods. Ugh, or like, finding little mysterious things like running around and catching Pokemon, that's a little bit less
Yeah.
charming. But there are little surprises and mysteries there. So little problems that you can solve, but in a physical context. Um, some of the museums that I'm working with have interesting experiences that they're building to kind of mystify folks. I was just talking to folks from the Cooper Hewitt, and they had a pen, a physical pen, which is an IoT device. You go up and you tap on a tag, and you get information.
Whoa.
Like interesting, like scavenger hunty type things. That's kind of more my bag, I think.
I just went down a YouTube rabbit hole. I just started following this person. I'll link it on when we post this video on YouTube. And it's a person who gets sent these boxes, these mystery boxes from everywhere, from Russia to Japan, all over the world. And sometimes it'll just be a box and it'll look really simple. Sometimes it's like a vending machine shaped one, and he has to solve how to like unlock it. And you're given no directions, maybe a little riddle or something like that, but there'll be like some sort of thing where if you just knock on a certain point, like a drawer will open, or the key, you have to use a magnet to find the key and unlock it. And it's very fun to watch, because not only are you just as a listener or as a viewer just being like, oh my gosh, how does it get solved, but he's a master solver of it. And it's a lot like talking through your code or whiteboarding, because you're listening, he's talking out loud and saying,
Yeah.
okay, well, we tried this and we did it this way, like, let's do it this way. So I've been sending that to a lot of folks that I mentor when they say, whiteboarding's, I can solve the problems, but I'm having trouble walking through the problems. And it's so interesting to see someone live solve a puzzle, but the puzzle is a mystery. It's not like you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle or something. It's like, okay, this is a box with a hole in the center, and all I have as a tool is a piece of jade. Like, how does this fit into it?
Sounds like you have
Fascinating.
a website and you have a spec and you need to hook it to a database. This is all the stuff we do all the time.
Yeah,
That's so true.
absolutely. It's very, I feel like, I grew, well, if you are follow our coworker April on Twitter, we're obsessed with unsolved mysteries, and it drives us crazy because they're all unsolved.
They're still unsolved.
So at the end we're like, no, how does it end? How do we solve this? So I think I get a lot of pleasure out of like decoding things and figuring them out. Do you have any of those, Brandon, that you're a fan of mystery solving things?
Oh, wow. So it's funny, when you first asked the question, my mind jumped to like, what did I watch growing up? And I was thinking about things like Scooby Doo. I don't know if that counts as mysteries, because
Sure,
Oh, the mystery
I mean they're
machine.
that's true.
As a car.
absolutely.
And the Goosebumps, kind of choose your own
Yes.
adventures. And I think I read every Goosebumps book, every book R.L. Stein put out. Uh, but no, what's funny is when you mentioned YouTube, there's a channel that uses this. There's like a Google Maps game where you can tell it to put you in Street View anywhere in the world. And then you have to guess, like on a map, you click on the map, say, I think I'm here.
Oh, wow.
And it's fascinating because there's this one guy who's amazing at it. He has to make it harder on himself, because most of us, we could jump in and then like you can move around in Street View. So you can start looking for things like signage, what language is the sign written in, license plates will be a pretty good clue. And then you can usually narrow it down that way. And this guy's gotten so good that he does like no clicking around, and he's limits himself to 10 seconds. And
Wow.
it could be anywhere in the world. He's like, oh yeah, this this dirt road in the middle of nowhere surrounded by trees. It's like, this feels like Ukraine. And looking at these trees, they're kind of deciduous, and I don't know if that's the right word, but and that's usually typical to the northeastern part of Ukraine. So I'm gonna guess that I'm here, and he'll be like 100 meters away. And I'm like, what?
Wow. That's like real life Carmen San Diego. Like having to go up to people and be like, what is the geography of this place? Where am I? What am I eating? What am I doing?
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Well, and Google Maps has its own mysteries. There's all kinds of weird stuff that come on Google Maps. You can
Oh yeah.
mystery cities that are reproductions of other cities. And a lot of weird stuff.
Now, I wonder if our kind of love for mystery is maybe what brought us all to programming, because I feel like I spend so much of my day when I'm coding figuring out why doesn't this work? And then I keep thinking, oh, it's going to be this huge bug, when in reality it's a semicolon that's missing. But so much of what we do is like kind of detective work to figure out why something isn't working, or the rare occurrence of why is this working?
It's true.
This shouldn't really be working.
And it's funny, I see that my wife and I have been playing a lot of video games because, well, there's nothing else to do during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this the other day, the contrast between the games my wife loves and is amazing at are typically the side-scrolling games. Like, she's amazing at things like Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong and the Super Nintendo. So where you're traversing through the world left to right. And I like the games that are more puzzle-based. Like, I've been going through Zelda Ocarina of Time again, where you have to find these clues and solve them. And yeah, it's funny because we both don't play the other game because it stresses us out. So I say things like, I don't like that game because it's too fast paced. I have to memorize the entire board. And that's really the only way you can beat those boards, is you have to know what's coming and know when to jump ahead of time and anticipate it. Whereas she doesn't like the games I play because they're almost too open. She's like, you can spend hours trying to find a clue or going down this rabbit hole that might not even be the right direction. You might have just spent an hour or 2 hours trying to solve something, but you're trying to solve the wrong thing. And yeah, I totally get it now. It's because I love these puzzles. And that's one of the reasons I love coding, is because it's always this next challenge, this new puzzle, trying to figure out how to piece things together. And it feels like we're solving a mystery.
So she likes more of the mini challenges, sort of, and you like more of the open world ones. That's interesting.
Yeah, her games are all super fast paced, and like, man, just watching her. I mean, she's amazing, but yeah, just watching her play the game like gets my blood pressure going, my heart rate going. Like, this is so much anxiety. Like, how do you do this? And she's like, oh, it's such a cathartic release.
I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing, but I love this new game I've been playing called Human Resource Machine, which is going to sound very boring, but I promise it's fun. You literally, the whole concept is you work in an office, and you'll be given a task like, hey, sort these papers by, number or color. And you have to kind of drag and drop these coding concepts almost. And a lot of my friends who aren't developers have started playing it and have reached out and said, oh, is this kind of like coding? I would love to learn more about this. And it, in fact, is very close to actually a lot of the stuff that we have for kids here at Microsoft, some of the drag and drop coding components that we have for our microbit games and things of that nature. But Human Resource Machine, tell your wife about that one. I feel like she'd love the challenge of that.
And she works in human resources.
Yeah, she does.
It might almost be too real.
Amazing. Well, that is the end of 8 Bits today. That was so much fun. I feel like I learned so much more about you, Jen. For folks at home, Jen is my manager, so I'm learning a lot today.
She has to be very flattering.
And she's the best manager.
She's the best manager.
Best employee, Chloe.
So where can people find all your stuff online, Jen? If they want to check out Maya Mystery, I imagine that they could they could Bing it. But do they just go to aka.ms/Maya Mystery?
Actually, aka.ms/Azure Maya Mystery. So that is that link. If you want to find me, I'm always on Twitter, Jen Looper on Twitter. You can probably dig me up on LinkedIn, and I'm there too. And I'm always happy to chat.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
any other fun projects or academic things that you want to put out to our audience to share?
Yeah, get ready for the new project that's coming in the fall. I didn't realize how this would blow up on Twitter, but it just started yesterday. We're doing an entire 12-week, 24-lesson curriculum for free for any teacher who wants to just teach web development 101, that kind of very, very basic content, kind of circling back to where we started in this conversation for all the code newbies. It's project-based. The pedagogy we picked is project-based with frequent quizzes. So we're going to be building, you're going to start with a game, you're going to build a bank, and then you're going to build another game. So we're all working to get these projects ready, and we're building curriculum around it. Every piece of curriculum will have a video and a PowerPoint that you can use as a teacher, and detailed instructions on how to deliver this to your classroom. So for any boot camps or community colleges, if you need curriculum, we've got you.
Amazing.
It's amazing. And what are the languages and frameworks you're using for the class?
Haha, no frameworks. It's all vanilla, vanilla JavaScript.
All right.
So, I know, right? So I know, because I'm spoiled rotten. I'm a Vue developer, and I'm like, I don't remember how to write vanilla JavaScript. It's terrible. But it's just JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, straight up, no chaser.
Nice. Very cool. And that's so needed right now. I think especially with the change of landscape of how we're learning, having everything online is going to be great for teachers and students.
Yay.
Exciting.
Yes.
And where can they check that out? Where can they find that?
Yeah, so that's very much in process. Follow me on Twitter to kind of learn more. A lot of people are asking to be notified about this, and I haven't got a plan around that yet, but just we'll find a good way to get folks notified on when we release it, because I have a feeling there's a need.
Yeah, I'll be tweeting it out. I'll be retweeting Jen, all of that stuff, because that makes me very, very excited. Online learning for the win.
You got it. Absolutely.
Amazing.
So Chloe, I have some headlines. I know we have only about 5-ish minutes left.
Shall we?
Should we do some 2 truths and a lie?
We can try. We can do, if you can do it quickly, let's do it.
Speed round.
2 truths and a lie. That's the song that I just wrote for this segment.
So Jen, with 2 truths and a lie, we'll give 3 headlines. 2 of them are true and 1 is not. So I'll go through all 3 of them, and then we'll ask both you and Chloe to take your pick. So the first one today is an EU, the European Union court, ruled that Apple does not have to pay $15 billion in taxes to Ireland. Number 2, cigarette smoking has increased during the pandemic. The stress from the pandemic and boredom are attributed as the cause to the rise in smoking. And number 3, Mozilla launches an open source VPN. The VPN uses the open source protocol WireGuard, and both its API and client code are completely open source. Jen, which of these do you think is a lie?
I kind of feel like the EU one, where we're saying that Apple doesn't have to pay bazillions of dollars, is a lie, because there's a pattern that I see of requesting that taxes be paid. It's a thing in Europe, and I feel like maybe that's the lie. I've heard interesting things about smoking during what I call COVID, because it sounds so much more bougie.
Pinky up.
Yeah, I've heard that smoking. There's a rumor that smoking actually stops one from breathing in COVID, and that, however, the smoke coming out might have the germs in it. I don't even know, but there's something about
wear a mask.
And the other Mozilla one was extremely specific, and I'm thinking that's probably true. So I don't know.
Read the first one again. What was the first one exactly?
Yes, a European Union court ruled that Apple does not have to pay back $15 billion in taxes to Ireland.
Well, I'm tempted to say, okay, so it's a between 1 and 2 for me, because on the one hand, I feel like smoking would go up by boredom. However, because COVID is a respiratory disease, maybe people would be less likely to smoke. So, ooh, this is
What about the
tough.
masks? I was just thinking about the masks. Can you smoke if you had a mask?
That's right.
Just
There's
smoke.
no like hole in it. You're like doing it at
It looks so weird.
home. I'm gonna say number one. I'm gonna say number one as well.
All right, 2 lies for number 1. Well, drum roll, please. The lie is that cigarette smoking has actually decreased during the pandemic.
I should have gone with my gut.
Yeah. Okay. All
I
right.
could see
So-
that. Okay. What people are being more health conscious then. That's good. Maybe I'm just so used
Yeah.
to bad news.
Is it
But,
because people are inside? They're obliged to be inside? Is that?
Ooh, let's see. Let me pull up the article real quick, and we'll share the articles in the show notes. These are all ripped from the headlines. But it says more than 1 million people have given up smoking since the COVID-19 pandemic hit.
Oh,
And let's see, do they give a reason?
I bet people are less like, I feel like it's a very habitual thing. So maybe people are used to smoking on break at work, or they
lunch
go
break.
outside, or they don't want to smoke inside their house like Jen
Ooh.
said. That's
Mm.
interesting.
So I forget who, somebody mentioned smoking and increasing or decreasing the risk, but that looks like that's the top reason being cited, is that since COVID-19 does attack the lungs, folks are worried about having that, let's say, weakened lung system. Obviously not in the medical profession, but having weaker lung, the concern is, that smoking will impact your lungs. So does COVID-19. So seems like a good time to drop the habit. But yeah, that's actually some good news.
Yeah.
Silver lining, I'll take it.
I was just going to say the one positive out of all of this is people are living a healthier lifestyle, maybe. Well, meanwhile, I'm eating a lot more Flamin' Hot Cheetos, so maybe I need to think about my health a little bit more.
Snack increase through the roof.
Food. Well, this has been such a fun episode, Jen. And as always, wonderful to catch up with you as well, Brandon.
Hey.
Of course, we still don't have our official tagline on how to close out this show. We workshop
This
a
is
new one every single
my favorite part of
time.
the show. Chloe tries to end the show.
Let's see. I'm going to make it themed to what our show was about today. So for all you mystery solvers out there trying to figure out how we end the show, this one goes out to you. So this has been Chloe and
Brandon.
And we will see you next time with our special mystery guest. And maybe we'll be discovering something new about coding and about the mysteries of the Maya Mystery Mansion. So I don't think that one's going to stick, y'all. Until next time, mystery solved. Bye.
Bye.